Every war has a countdown. Most people don't hear it until the clock is already at 0. But Sonny heard it early, long before anyone else in the club realized the ticking had begun. It was buried in the silence outside the clubhouse, in the tension sitting in the corners of every conversation, in the way the city seemed to pull back its warmth inch by inch. Pressure had a sound now, and that sound was getting louder. It began just after sunrise, when the first call came in from Richmond. 6 patrol cars and a black van sitting on a quiet street, engines warm but unmoving. Not raiding, not chasing, just waiting like wolves circling before the pack leader gives the signal. 30 minutes later, Hayward called. 2 unmarked sedans at a gas station, one facing north, one facing south. Both pointed at the road Two-Tone usually took. Then a third call, then a fourth. 4 different cities. Same silent presence, same cold strategy. Not enforcement placement. Sonny didn't panic. He didn't even raise his voice. But in his eyes, the brothers saw something they hadn't seen before recognition. This wasn't surveillance anymore. This was staging. California wasn't studying the angels. California was preparing for them. As the morning stretched on, something even more unsettling began happening. People, the ordinary ones, the ones who defilled the angels' world with small points of normalcy, began disappearing from their orbits. The bartender who always joked with them didn't unlock the door. The mechanic who'd been tuning their bikes for 15 years kept the garage shut and refused to speak through the gap. A shop owner crossed the street rather than make eye contact. It wasn't hatred. It wasn't disgust. It was fear that someone somewhere had told them the angels were radioactive. For the viewer, this is where attention normally dips. But something shifts now. At 3:40 p.m., a prospect sprinted into the clubhouse holding a crumpled flyer someone had slid under the gate. No message, no threat, just a map. A map of Oakland with red circles drawn around the angels' most familiar spots. Bars, stores, alleys, even a member's mother's house. Every circle wasn't a target. It was a trap waiting to be sprung. Someone had charted their lives with precision. When Sonny unfolded it on the table, no one spoke, no one had to. They all saw the same truth. Someone knew their roots better than they did. But the real twist, the one that kept everyone glued to the moment, came just before sunset. The angels got word from the port. A rival biker club was inching toward their territory. Not fast, not loud. Just moving deliberate, organized, paced. Too organized, too clean. A rival doesn't move that smoothly unless someone's guiding them. And someone had been. What the angels didn't know yet was that California had visited that rival club earlier in the week, whispering warnings that the angels were planning something. Not a threat. A suggestion. A psychological weapon. Make both sides believe the other one lit the fuse. Let fear build the battlefield for you. When the news reached the clubhouse, the atmosphere turned electric. Two-Tone was the first to explode. He grabbed his helmet so hard the strap snapped. His voice cracked with anger and exhaustion. We can't just sit here. The room shifted instantly, half the brothers nodding, half urging caution. Pressure doesn't just divide enemies. It divides families. Sonny stepped into the center of the room, not angry, not shaken, but heavy, grounded, the only solid thing in a room vibrating with rage. They want us to move first, he said. They want cameras, lights, headlines. They want us in the open. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled ever so slightly. And that was more frightening than if he had shouted. This is the heart of the retention spike internal fracture. One brother slammed a beer bottle onto the table, glass ringing across the room. Another shoved a chair back so hard it scraped the concrete. Two-tone paced, boots hitting the floor like distant gunshots. Another brother muttered, "We're looking weak." The reply came immediately, "Or we're staying alive." Then came the dangerous words, the ones Sonny had feared all day. "Maybe it's time we hit back." The room froze. You could hear the hum of a beer fridge in the corner. The Angels had survived courts, raids, and setups, but internal doubt? That was the kind of pressure California was counting on. No bullet divides a club as fast as disagreement. Then the headlights came. At 8:03 p.m., 2 black SUVs rolled past the clubhouse. Not cops, not feds, not anything they recognized. No decals, no plates they could read. Just 2 silent shadows gliding across the fog like predators testing perimeter fencing. They didn't slow down. They didn't speed up. They just passed by. Slowly enough to say, "We're watching," but not long enough to be confronted. Sonny stepped outside to watch them disappear into the haze. The streetlights flickered above him. Fog curled around his boots. And for a moment, it wasn't clear if he was staring into the dark or if the dark was staring back. "We have 48 hours, he said quietly when he returned inside. Two-Tone's voice cracked. 48 hours for what? Sonny didn't answer right away. He looked at the map. He looked at his brothers. He looked at the walls of the clubhouse, the only home most of them had ever known, and then he looked at the door, as if imagining someone kicking it in. "For them to make their move," he said, "or for us to make the mistake they're waiting for." No one spoke after that. Because there are moments in a war when everyone knows the next step won't be reversible. It won't be a misunderstanding. It won't be psychological. It won't be subtle. The next move would be force. And every man in that room, angry, terrified, loyal, divided, felt the same truth sinking in. The war hadn't started yet, but the window for stopping it was closing fast.